Choosing a canopy is not an easy task. There are literally hundreds of options available on the market today, and if you were to go through all the websites and all the different brochures and speak to the salespeople, getting a short list is going to take you weeks. And then once you actually go out to the stores and view the products and listen to all the sales pitches from all the different salespeople, most of which know less about the products that you do, and sometimes they don't even ask the right questions to be able to make the right product recommendations for you. So choosing the wrong canopy could actually mean that you'd end up paying for the canopy long after you've had it installed, or worse still, having your dream camping trip ruined all because you bought the wrong canopy. But what if you had an unfair advantage? What if you had all the information and a framework that could help you choose the perfect canopy? Hi there, it's Rashid here from Grand 4x4, and in today's video we're going to show you the 9 things that you wish you knew before buying a tub canopy so that your dream of building a perfect setup can finally become a reality. And if you stick around to point number 9, we'll give you the real secret sauce when it comes to buying a canopy, the inside information that I would share with my best friend when buying a tub canopy. So stick around and watch the video. So over the last 10 years or so, we've been seeing more and more metal canopies take over the traditional eggshell fiberglass canopies that were pretty much the industry standard. But most people don't really know the difference between the two, or when they should choose the eggshell fiberglass versus a metal canopy. So if you're looking for a more molded look as well as a color matched option, then you might want to consider the fiberglass canopy. A lot of people seem to like the look of the canopy, as it generally goes with the overall theme. However, fiberglass canopies typically have a roof load rating of around 70 to 90 kilos. I've actually heard of additional bracing kits cost upward of $1,000 just to be able to get sufficient load bearing on the actual canopy. Now, something to also consider is that the fiberglass canopies are also fragile. That means they are prone to fading, cracking, as well as chipping. And the repairs on these canopies can be quite considerable, sometimes in the hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars. If you're looking for something really strong and something that can take a physical impact, then a metal canopy has to be your number 1 choice. With a load rating typically double that of the outdated counterparts, it's easy to see why more and more people are opting for the metal canopies. But not all metals are created equal. With the variety of canopies out there coming in aluminium and stainless steel variants, how do you know which option to go for? Strength. If you're looking for something strong, then your number 1 choice has to be a stainless steel canopy. Stainless steel canopies are generally much stronger than the aluminium versions. They are slightly heavier, but when it comes to carrying heavy loads on the roof, such as camping setups, etc., stainless steel has to be the best option. Now, don't get me wrong, aluminium is a great option for canopy, but one of the downsides, especially if the canopy is not engineered properly, is that you lose the ability to carry heavy loads on the roof of the canopy. Now, the typical load rating on an aluminium canopy might be around 100 kilos, whereas the stainless steel counterparts generally are a lot higher than that. Now, the G4 canopy has the best of both worlds, with a stainless steel on the load-bearing parts of the canopy and aluminium doors, which allows you to have the full 150 kilogram dynamic load rating while still keeping the canopy light between 80 to 85 kilos on the domestic utes. Thanks for getting this far into the video. If you're new to the channel or you've watched some of our previous content before and you haven't subscribed yet, just click on that subscribe button and get notified every time we drop a new video. And thanks again for watching. Now let's enjoy the rest of the video. Now, speaking of weight, does the extra 20 or 30 kilograms on a canopy really make that much of a difference? Well, the short answer is yes. Vehicle manufacturers have set a limit to the amount of weight that a vehicle can carry, also known as the gross vehicle mass, or the GVM. Now, once you start loading your car up with bull bars, rear bars, canopies, roof racks, a car full of people, fuel, drawers, fridge slides, you will slowly find yourself creeping up to that GVM limit. So the difference between an 80 kilogram canopy and a 110 or 120 kilogram canopy can definitely put you over the edge when you have a vehicle full of gear as well as people. But if you don't have plans to go on any multi-day touring trips, then the weight of the canopy might not make that much of an impact to you. But when you really need to start paying attention is when you start loading up the roof. But with so many different load rating scales out there, how do you even know what to consider? So the dynamic load rating on a canopy is the maximum amount of weight that a canopy can bear while the vehicle is in motion. Now, this accounts for bumps, any sideward motion and forces, as well as braking. Now, the static load rating refers to the maximum amount of weight that a canopy can bear while the canopy is stationary. Now, you'll find that these canopies or the load rating is generally much higher than the dynamic load rating. So when you look at canopies online, just be careful or be aware of what the load rating is. Is it the static or is it the dynamic? So here's a quick pro tip. If you are planning to do something like a rooftop tent setup on a canopy, what you want to do is plan out your setup well in advance. Basically knowing exactly what products you plan to buy and their exact weights. And then you can figure out if the product that you're looking to purchase, the canopy, can actually hold all of the products that you plan on carrying. So here's just a quick back of the envelope calculation. A typical platform rack that mounts onto a canopy weighs approximately 20 kilos, and depending on the brand of tent that you buy, a tent can weigh anywhere from 65 on the low end all the way up to about 90 on the high end. And if you wanted to do an awning, a typical 270-degree awning could weigh anywhere between 30 to 35 kilos. So let's do the maths on that, right? You've got 20 kilos on the platform, let's say 80 kilos on the rooftop tent, and let's say you are going for a 270 awning at 35. That leaves you with 135 load on the roof. So if you are going to go with something like a G4 canopy, which has 150 dynamic load rating, that would leave you with about 15 kilograms to spare. That's enough to chuck up maybe a solar panel as well as some MaxTrax recovery boards. So if you are planning to do the roof tent setup for those remote touring trips, you want to make sure that you have enough space or load carrying capacity to load all your gear up, and also that little bit extra just in case you have any changes to your setup. So keeping it simple. Now, I haven't always been into four-wheel drives. I'm a city kid from Joburg, and I used to be into lowered sports cars with big wheels and shiny paint and all these kinds of things. That was until I came to Australia, and I started working with a guy named Joe. Mr. G, what's up? And he was the president of a four-wheel drive club, and he had all of these big monster Nissan Patrols parked in his yard. And that's essentially where I fell in love with four-wheel driving. Now, Joe used to tell me that brand new vehicles out the box are not even close to being ready, being taken out into the bush. And it's not uncommon at all for vehicle owners to spend upwards of $10,000 just as a starting point to get their vehicles ready to be taken out on camping trips. So it didn't make sense to me at first, but after thousands of hours of consumer and product research into the four-wheel drive market, I can assure you that most people in for a surprise when they see what the ride gear actually costs to get their vehicle set up for a trip. But if you're smart and you don't buy into all the marketing hype, you can have a simple setup that will get you anywhere in the country without blowing the budget. All you need is a good quality canopy, a fridge, an awning, a swag, and a simple 12-volt system, and you're golden. But even if you do keep it simple, there might be some hidden costs that you aren't actually aware of. Now, one of the main costs when getting a canopy is actually the installation price. Now, I speak to four-wheel drive shops all around the country, and they typically charge anywhere between $120 to $150 per hour, and with typical canopy installations taking anywhere between 3 to 5 hours to install, depending on the type of product. Now, if you were to decide to go for something like a flat pack canopy, you might save a little bit on the actual price of the product, but you end up paying a little bit more on the installation because it takes that much more time just to get the canopy assembled. So for those of you that like the idea of a single piece canopy like the G4 canopy, here's a bit of not so great news. Because the canopy is a single piece welded canopy, it comes in a big box, 1.8 by 1.8 meters, and it generally gets transported on a pallet, and the price of the shipping interstate is generally a little bit more than something like a flat pack canopy. You can expect to pay around $300 to $400 to get a canopy shipped to South Australia, and about $400 to $500 to New South Wales, and about $500 to $600 to Tasmania or Queensland metropolitan regions, either to your nearest depot or to one of our installation partner stores where you can get your canopy professionally installed. Now, speaking about installations, Campers and tradies are generally the DIY types. But what does it actually take to get a canopy like this installed on your vehicle? So if you're thinking of a DIY installation on something like a single piece G4 canopy or even a flat pack canopy, there's two things you want to keep in mind. One is getting the canopy safely onto the tub, which generally takes 4 people or a forklift, and also the electrical work for whatever lighting system the canopy has. Now, the rest of the installation is pretty straightforward. What you have to do is put some rubber seal on the top portion of the tub, get the canopy mounted on, and then it's generally either bolting the canopy in using drilled holes, or if you have a G4 canopy, then using something like our custom mounting brackets, which are vehicle specific. And yeah, apart from that, getting a canopy installed is pretty straightforward. You would just need enough people to get it on and someone with auto electrical experience to light up or to wire up the lighting system. Now, here's a bit of a pro tip. Be careful of prices quoted excluding GST. I've seen quite a few companies quote prices that exclude the GST amount, and then when you finally purchase your canopy or you're about to pay for it, you end up with a 10% additional price slapped onto your invoice. This is the part of the video that your ears really want to prick up. Let's talk dollars. So if you're anything like me and generally filter by price low to high, then you want to pay attention to this. With over 100 brands of canopies available in Australia today, trying to understand the value of canopies is trying to translate hieroglyphics. But lucky for you, I've done all the hard work. So we're going to give you the exact breakdown of what you can expect to pay for canopies in Australia at the time of this recording. So cheap flat packs. Okay, fine. I know I crap all over flat pack canopies, but the truth is they do actually have a place in the market. These canopies typically would range from about $1,800 all the way up to about $3,000 to $3,200, depending on the supplier, obviously. But generally what these products are a 5-piece flat pack construction, generally coming in aluminium. Some actually come in steel, not even stainless steel. So those are the ones you need to be careful of. But yeah, generally you can expect to pay about $1,800 to about $3,200 for a flat pack. With these premium brands of legacy flat pack canopies, you can expect to pay anywhere from about $5,000 to about $6,000 on the domestic utes for the supply of premium flat pack canopy. Now, on the top end of the flat pack canopy market, you'll find some of the big legacy brands that are generally available across the country. Now, these are a much better option if you're looking for a flat pack canopy. They generally come with heaps of different accessories, and they have installers and suppliers virtually in every corner of Australia. Now, if you're after a single piece canopy, there are just a handful of companies in Australia that supply these type of canopies. These companies often have maybe a South African background, a lot of Kiwi companies in there, some Australian brands as well. And the price range on these canopies are anywhere from about $6,500 all the way up to about $9,000 for the supply of a good quality single piece canopy. So $2,000 on like the low end and about $9,000 on the high end when it comes to purchasing metal canopies. It's quite a range. So deciding what price point you should enter the market at is a consideration that you probably need to make. Now, I'm going to share something with you which you've probably heard already, and Joe had shared with me many times, which is the poor man pays twice. It's the truth. The amount of times that we see people who have entered the market at the really low end on a cheap flat pack canopy, ultimately they end up quite dissatisfied after a couple of months with the product that they purchased. So deciding where to enter the market at is probably one of the biggest decisions that you have to make. Getting the right canopy means that you have years and years of awesome trips lined up for you. And on the other hand, buying the wrong canopy means a lot of frustration, wasted time and energy, and ultimately costing you more than what you would have initially spent. And here's the moment you've been waiting for, the secret sauce. How do you know what's the right canopy to purchase, right? Do you search ChatGPT? Do you ask for referrals? Do you basically just go by what all the companies are advertising and marketing? That might be a good way to get your initial shortlist. But now I'm going to give you the advice that I would give to my best friend if they were looking for a canopy to purchase. So here's the secret sauce. The best advice that I could give you when making a decision to purchase a canopy for your ute is this: ignore salespeople and ignore all the marketing that you see online. The best advice that I could give you is to be able to use your own senses. Actually get your short list of the products that you like, and then once you have that short list, go into the stores. And then when you go into the stores, basically ignore the salesperson. Tune out everything that they're saying and use your senses, use your hands and your eyes to actually examine the product that you're looking at. Look at the finish, the quality of the powder coating, the quality of the seals on the canopy, and then you'll be able to make a decision based on actual first-hand sensory information as opposed to marketing hype that you might see online. And then once you've actually examined and inspected the canopies at the stores, then you can go and ask clarifying questions in terms of fitment, installation options, any additional accessories that are available for the vehicle. So basing your decision on what canopy to purchase, basing it purely on price is probably not the best way to go about it, because not only are you going to end up with an inferior quality product, but the installers as well as the salespeople that you get in contact with will essentially try to spend the least amount of time with you as possible to address your concerns. And ultimately, when you buy a product, the pre and post sale service is sometimes the icing on the cake that makes the whole experience worthwhile. And there you go. Those are the top 9 things that you wish you knew before making a canopy purchase. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the video down below. And if you were interested in what the difference is between a G4 canopy and a typical flat pack canopy, you can watch this video right here. Till next time, thanks for joining us.